Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. September is NICU Awareness Month. NICU, if you're not familiar, stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. This is where babies who are born preterm or who are born sick or born with any kind of health complications go to. Now, because of it being NICU Awareness Month, most of the time, babies who go there are often born preterm. They're born before 37 weeks. Now, that's not to say full-term babies don't go to the NICU. They do. But most of the time, it is because they're born preterm, before 37 weeks gestation. One of the most common questions that I receive is about getting pregnant after having a preemie. Because I will tell you, when you have seen your child too soon, when you have watched your child fight for his or her life, when you have seen your child hooked up to monitors and tubes and lines and wires, and when you have had to make decisions about your child's care that you never thought you would ever have to make, trying to bring another life into this world is terrifying. It is terrifying. And I will tell you that most of the time, the clients who I work with end up being preemie or micro preemie moms, women who have delivered preterm, want to have more children, and are absolutely terrified of the past repeating itself. I don't know a single preemie mom who wants another preemie. And so they come to me looking for how we can enhance the medical care that they're going to receive during their future pregnancy, what they can do even before they're pregnant to increase the chances that they stay pregnant at least a full term, if not longer, at least as long as they were pregnant before, if not longer, ideally to full term, right? That's the work that we do together. And if that sounds like you, I hear you. You don't want the past to repeat itself, but you're also not done growing your family, and so you're in this conundrum. And so trying to conceive again, being pregnant again after prematurity is a really complicated experience. So on today's episode, I want to walk you through the 4 most important steps that I believe are extremely crucial for you to take before you even try to conceive again, if you have already delivered preterm in the past. Step number 1 is not anything related to your medical care. Step number 1 is to talk to your partner, because the two of you together are growing this family. You're creating this family. So regardless of what the doctors say, regardless of what the research says, regardless of anything else, including your biological clock, you both have to be on the same page about whether you even want to do this and when you want to do this. Because that in itself is a complicated experience. You had the physical experience of delivering preterm, whether it was a vaginal delivery or a C-section planned or emergency, doesn't matter. You had that physical experience, and that on its own can be quite traumatic. Your partner has also experienced a unique type of trauma that's enhanced by the helplessness of being on, quote unquote, the outside, not being able to actually do anything while you were delivering preterm while your baby's in the NICU. And if you've been in the NICU, you know, there's a lot, relatively speaking, depending on your NICU, support for moms to help bond with the baby, to help with her milk supply, to help her feel involved. And there's not enough for partners, I believe. And that can also have partners feel like they're not included. Aside from the fact that it was also their child that was born preterm, right? So there's a lot of different experiences, a lot of different memories. Your partner has a different point of view of the exact same events that you've been through. So you have to talk to each other first. Have an honest conversation. Do you know how your partner is feeling about the preterm delivery and having a preemie and raising a preemie if your preemie was able to go home? Do you know what that experience has been like for them? Do they know what this experience has been like for you? Are you very, very clear on both of your journeys up until this point? Now, why does that matter? because you want to make sure that you're both completely ready for this. When I work with my clients who are preemie moms or micro preemie moms and are ready to or wanting to conceive again, this is a question that I ask. Is your partner ready? And I can't tell you how often my clients realize when they have this conversation with their partners that their partner doesn't actually feel like it's quote unquote over. They're still stuck in this trauma response. When my clients are ready to move forward, they're ready to have another baby. They're saying, okay, let's go, let's do this for whatever reason, right? Timing for fertility treatment or just feeling like they want to have another experience, maybe a reparative experience. Whatever the reason is that they want to, they don't realize a lot of times that their partners feel like they're still stuck in that moment. They're still stuck in the trauma, and it's hard for them to even conceptualize having another baby when they haven't even quote unquote healed or gotten over what's already happened. And not only that, but you both have to be on the exact same page about, do you feel ready for this? And it's not just an emotional readiness. Are you ready for the time that is going to be required in order to get pregnant? Are you ready for the financial aspect of having another pregnancy? For example, if you need fertility treatment to get pregnant again, are you guys in a place where financially you can do it, given what's going on right now, right? Does your baby have medical complications that's taking one or both of your time and energy, so that trying to conceive again, adding that other aspect of it, is there even time for that? Is there energy for that? Do either one of you, or both of you maybe, need some time to focus on your careers or to increase income before getting pregnant again? Do one or both of you need some time to just enjoy what is right now before trying again? Do you have any type of residual health issues that still need to be addressed before you're ready to try again? There's so many conversations that need to be happening, right? And the reason why this is first is because there's loads of research that shows that when you have a partner who is tremendously supportive of you during pregnancy, it actually improves pregnancy outcomes, right? Because the goal of you wanting to get pregnant again after prematurity is to know what you can do to reduce your risk of that happening again. And this is one of those things. And that's not to say your partner won't be supportive. Maybe they want to be supportive. But if they are having their own trauma response still happening, they're not going to be as supportive as they want to be or you need them to be. And when we're looking at pregnancy health outcomes, including how far you make it in pregnancy, how long you can carry a pregnancy, partner support is critical. Plenty of research that shows that. Now, that's not to say that if you delivered preterm, that means your partner wasn't supportive. Of course not. It's not that simple, right? We're not oversimplifying any of this. But what we're saying is, if you look at pregnancy outcomes as a 100-piece puzzle, these are some of the pieces that need to be in place. Now, if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I don't have a partner, that's okay. I mean, the research is done on married couples, but that doesn't mean that there's only that type of support that's helpful in pregnancy outcomes. You can create an extremely supportive network around you with family, with friends, with community of some type. That social integration, that social support is tremendously helpful when it comes to pregnancy health and pregnancy outcomes. So that's why this is step one. Talk to your partner. If you have one, talk to your partner. Are they ready? Do you know what their journey has been like? Do they know what your journey has been like? What do you both need moving forward? When is the right time? Do either of you have hesitations about moving forward? All of that needs to be discussed before you even get any medical teams involved. Because if you're not on the same page, you will not feel safe enough while you're trying to get pregnant and stay pregnant. And if you've listened to any episodes of Delivering Miracles, if you've read Pregnancy Brain, if you've followed me on social, if you read my blog, you know that safety is critical to optimal health, both reproductive health and pregnancy health. You have to feel safe. That is how our bodies are designed. We're going to get into that in a little bit more detail. But that's really where we start. Talk to your partner. Now, the question that comes up here is, well, what if my partner isn't ready or doesn't even want to have another child, but I really want another baby? And I get this question a lot. A lot of women email me with this question. And it really goes back to what I said earlier about the trauma response that your partner may be stuck in. That trauma reaction that didn't go away, that has not resolved, that is still there. Allow your partner to receive support. Talk to them about that trauma. Give them an opportunity to share this with you if they are willing and open to share it with you. Because the interesting thing is about this experience is you both went through the same thing. You both welcomed your child into this world sooner than you had expected or wanted. But you experienced it from two completely different perspectives. So if your partner is ready and willing, approach this conversation with curiosity instead of having an agenda of when are you going to get on board. Approach it with curiosity. What do you remember about what happened? What keeps you up at night? What are you most worried about going forward? What has stayed with you from that day, months or years ago when it all happened? Because the more you understand each other, the easier it's going to be to make a joint decision about when and how and where and all of that, when to move forward and how to make those decisions and what forward means for both of you. It's going to be much easier to do that and much easier to do that without resentment because you don't want that mixed into all of this. That's a whole other conversation we can have about that. So that's step one. When you are trying to get pregnant or you're thinking about getting pregnant after a preemie, it starts with the two of you who are at the core and center of this family. Talk to each other. Get on the same page. If you ever need help, couples counseling for somebody, working with somebody who is familiar with reproductive, pregnancy, and birth trauma is huge. Please make sure that whoever you work with is trauma trained. Not all therapists are trauma trained. They will tell you they have experience with trauma. They all are not trauma trained. So be sure you are very particular about that and make sure you are very particular about this particular type of trauma so you get the right type of support. So step one, talk to your partner. Step two is when we start bringing in the medical team. Step two is to make a preconception appointment. This is an appointment with a high-risk OB, also known as a perinatologist, also known as a maternal fetal medicine specialist. Ideally, you had a good experience with your previous doctor. And so you can see your maternal fetal medicine specialist from your previous pregnancy that ended in a preterm delivery. If you did not have a good experience with that particular doctor, I do not recommend talking to that same doctor again. Go find another one. Talk to somebody else who is much more aligned with your values and a doctor that you feel comfortable with. This is also a really great opportunity to get a second pair of eyes from the outside looking in to get an idea of what happened last time and what could we have done differently and what would we do different going forward. I have a podcast episode that I did on exactly how to do this that I'm going to link below, how to get a second opinion. And I have a free guide on what to ask your doctor with questions pre-created on what to ask at your preconception appointment after a high-risk pregnancy or preterm delivery. So that's going to be linked below as well. So what is this preconception appointment though? Let's back up for a second. This appointment is essential because you want to make sure that you get your questions answered before you start trying again. Questions like, what happened last time? Were there any mistakes made last time that we could have seen or we should have seen or we didn't see, but we can now in hindsight see? What risks did I have now looking back that contributed to my preterm delivery? And what do we do differently going forward? What's the plan, medically speaking? Now remember, we're talking about a puzzle here. The medical piece of the puzzle is important, but it is not the entire 100-piece puzzle. It is one big chunk of the puzzle, but it is not the entire thing. So stopping here, this is why this is only step 2 out of 4, right? I just want to put this in context for you as we're going through this. Now, sometimes a preconception appointment is really helpful just to map out your next steps and so you feel confident about your medical care going forward, sometimes the preconception appointment is helpful to even decide whether you even want to try again. Maybe you'll learn some things in this appointment that make you and or your partner feel like, gosh, this is not worth it. That happened to me. We had a preconception appointment. Actually, it wasn't really a preconception appointment. It was more of a powwow of what the heck was that? If you read Pregnancy Brain, or if you've listened to any of my episodes or some interviews I've done, you know my pregnancy was very, very complicated. I ended up with many, many complications and delivered at 24 weeks and 5 days. And it was just kind of a really messy experience, really scary, really, really awful. So it was more of just kind of a what the heck was that kind of thing. And in asking the right questions, some of which are provided in the free guide, What Should I Ask My Doctor?, which is linked below, we found out about our risks moving forward. Our risk of having more complications in a future pregnancy and the risk of delivering preterm again. And the numbers that we heard were not comforting to us. And there are many of my clients who experience something very similar. They go in, some of them go in, they lay out their entire plan. You know, my clients and I sit down together and we take their entire history and we actually craft a very specific set of questions together that's very personalized to them so they can make sure that they really fill in all the holes that we possibly can fill in, not taking a, well, we don't know as an answer. That's not good enough. We don't know really means we don't know enough right now. We need to keep looking. That's what that means. Because you need enough information to actually make an informed decision going forward. Do I want to do this again? Am I ready to do this again? Do I know what it's going to take to do this again? And am I okay with all of that? The medications you might need, the surgeries you might need, the interventions you might need, the bed rest that might happen, the potential risk of another preterm delivery, right? All of that. So we work together, we put these questions together. Many of them go to their preconception appointment. It might be overwhelming. We process all of that together. We kind of make a plan for what it all means in real life, right? How are you going to make this work now that you have another child or some children at home? We do that together. And it kind of starts laying the groundwork for this unknown path that they will be on and that I'm on with them. For some, we'll do all of that together. We'll prepare. We'll go through all of that. They'll go to the preconception appointment. They come back and they go, I don't think this is a good idea at all. And they never would have known that had they not had this conversation with their medical provider. And that's why having the right questions is so important ahead of time. You don't want to go in there unprepared because you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and you're going to still have questions that are not answered. And so the decisions you make are still not from a place of complete empowerment and clarity because there are still some things that you're not aware of, which is why if you want that personalized support, I do have a short program just for this alone to help prepare you for a preconception appointment or to prepare you for any type of preconception testing. The Get More Answers program is a 30-day program that I'm going to link below that you're more than welcome to join if you'd like that personalized support to make sure you've got everything in place before you make this decision to go forward. When you go into this appointment, you want to make sure that you're going into it almost like an investigator, like a journalist, just trying to collect data. The goal of the appointment is literally just to figure out and make sense of what happened and what to do going forward to gain some clarity and plug up the holes that you still have that you're still waiting on answers for. The beauty of this appointment, and I want to really hit this home, is it is not a one-time appointment. It doesn't have to be. It might be. For some of you, it might be. But for some of you, you may have to go back a couple of times. You might hear something in that appointment, the risks, some statistics, some expectation for how it might go. And you might feel like, whoa, no, this is not the right time at all for this. And so you wait. And then you go back in 3 months, in 6 months when you're ready, and you have the conversation again. Or you go, you get some answers, and then you realize, gosh, maybe I need to hear that again. And so you go again, make the appointment again, do it over and over. Now, here's the other thing I will say. You can go to this preconception appointment. They may tell you all kinds of things. Maybe you don't like them. Maybe you don't like the plan that they're suggesting. Maybe you think it's too aggressive or not aggressive enough, too reactive and not preventative enough. Maybe you feel like it has too much reliance on medication and you don't want so much next time. Whatever that might be, this is not the end all, what they say. You can get a second opinion, and you can get a third opinion. You can get a fourth opinion. I will tell you, in my case, I had a gut feeling that I should not carry a pregnancy prior to my high-risk pregnancy. But we did it anyway for a variety of reasons. And then we found out what happened, right? Multiple complications, bed rest for months, strict hospital bed rest for 2 weeks on all kinds of medications, felt awful, and still delivered extremely preterm. Thankfully, long enough to give him a chance to survive, but way too early for us to ever want that ever again. So my gut feeling was, I don't think this is a good idea. My maternal fetal medicine specialists, my MFMs, I had 2 of them, both kind of said, well, we're not going to tell you what to do, but here's what we're looking at. Here are the statistics. Here are the numbers. They were not comforting to me or my partner. Not at all. Still, to make sure we had all our bases covered, we went to get multiple second opinions. I guess you can't call them second opinions if there are third and fourth opinions. But overall, I ended up speaking with 2 more MFMs in a clinic that had nothing to do with my clinic, so I had a completely fresh set of eyes. 1 more obstetrician, a second reproductive endocrinologist, again, not tied to mine. And then my case was presented at a case conference. So I had a whole group of people weighing in because this was a humongous decision. And the thing I did not want more than anything else was regret and doubt going forward. Did I make the right choice? Because unlike many things in life, fertility, pregnancy, there is somewhat of a window. It's not a forever thing. Like, you can always go back to school. You can be any age and go back to school and learn something new. Fertility is not so much like that. Can you continue to grow your family in other ways? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We live in a time when we have so much technology available to us that there are many, many options on how to grow our family, one of which we ended up using. But I didn't want to live with regret and doubt. So that's what we did. Ended up talking to, I think it was a total of maybe 14 different doctors so that I could feel completely confident because it was a really big deal. What lay ahead of me if I were to choose to get pregnant again was a really big deal. It was going to be a tremendous investment, both in terms of time, health, energy, money. And the flip side of that was also true. So we wanted to be really sure. And the same thing can be for you. Maybe you don't talk to 14, right? It was actually not as many conversations because of the case conference that it ended up being 14. But still, it is your right to make sure you talk to a doctor whose plan resonates with you. You are already going into this pregnancy scared, anxious, worried, and with memories of things no parents need to have ever experienced. And yet you did. So whatever you can do to get a team on board that is supportive of your vision, your values, as well as the way you want to be treated with your health to reduce your risk of preterm delivery again and improve your chances of carrying to term and having a healthy pregnancy, you deserve that. Ask the questions. Ask them. Do not shy away from that. You are, at this point, selecting your team. Think of it like, remember when we were in school, when we were young and we're picking our kickball teams? Did you guys ever play kickball? And your team captain, that's what you're doing. You want to look out there and you want to go, who's the best kicker I've got? Who's the best runner so they can go to base and tag the other team out, right? That's what you are doing. So if you are not satisfied, if there's something that your doctor says in this appointment that scares you, take the time and then go talk to somebody else. You've got pre-made questions in the What Do I Ask My Doctor free guide that I'm linking below. But if you want to do this together to make sure you've got all the support possible to get all the right information you possibly need, join me in the Get More Answers program, and I'm here for you. But this is step 2. Number 1, talk to your partner. Make sure you're both on the same page, that you're both ready, both financially, health-wise, emotionally, physically, ready to take this on. And then step 2 is schedule a preconception appointment. Figure out what happened and make a plan going forward. And if you don't like that plan that they suggest, for whatever reason, you do not have to justify it. Keep talking to physicians, keep building your team until you feel in your gut, okay, I know what I need to do. You are the driver of this decision. You are the driver of this team. You are team captain. Do not ever forget that. And I'll add here too, whatever you hear in that preconception appointment, this is what I tell all my clients, they're all just statistics, and you are not a number. You know that more than anything. After everything you've been through, and after watching your preemie in the NICU and what they did and how they went through their health journey to get to be where they are now, you know that you are more than a number. So what they're sharing are statistical likelihoods. They are not a crystal ball. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. It's heavy, but it's also a really big decision. And I know this is really important for you. So that's why we're breaking this down this way. Okay. And again, if you'd like support with all of this, I am here for you. Join the Get More Answers program and we can go through all of this together so you don't feel like you're carrying this all alone. Okay. So step 1, talk to your partner. Step 2, preconception appointment. All right. So now your partner and you are on the same page. You've got some kind of a plan that feels good to you with your medical team, right? Step 3 is deactivating your arousal system. That's a fancy way of saying turning off your stress response. You knew I was going to say this, right? There's no way I was going through this without talking about this. This is huge, guys. This is the piece, if you were looking at the puzzle, right? The puzzle of preconception prenatal care, this is the side of the puzzle that always gets forgotten. Always. So let's start with the basics. You did not cause your previous preterm delivery. It was not your fault. The complications were not your fault. None of this is your fault. Okay? Can you hear that? This is not your fault. Your anxiety is not your fault. Your fear is not your fault. And neither one of them causes preterm delivery. Delivering preterm is a complicated experience that has complicated physiology behind it. But here is what we do know. An activated arousal system, meaning when your stress response is on, meaning that feeling you have where you're thinking about all the what ifs and you just can't stop. That feeling you have that doesn't allow you to go to sleep at night and you're tossing and turning even though you're exhausted and you want to sleep. That feeling you have when your body is constantly tight. That feeling you have every morning when you wake up and your jaw is aching. That feeling you have at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're at work and you're rubbing your neck because your neck is tired and it's hurting. And you think it's because you're always looking at your computer all day long. That feeling you have of chest tightness, of a difficulty breathing, the clamminess of your hands, your heart racing, all of that, right? That is signs of an activated arousal system. That is a sign that your stress response is on. When that stress response is on for too long, without opportunities to recover and repair, we are at an increased risk of miscarriage, failed cycles, and pregnancy complications, including an increased risk of infection, which has been tied to preterm premature rupture of membranes, PPROM, an increased risk of gestational diabetes, gestational hypertension, preterm labor, preeclampsia, preterm delivery, and so much more. That does not mean you think yourself into these complications. The way that this happens has nothing to do with the thoughts you're having or your level of optimism. Okay? This happens because when your arousal system is on, it actually creates changes to your endocrine system, which is responsible for your hormones, both prior to getting pregnant and during pregnancy. And it makes changes to your immune system by decreasing its effectiveness, putting you at risk for illness, sickness, and infection, which can affect your pregnancy outcome and your pregnancy health. I did an entire podcast episode explaining the physiology of how stress affects pregnancy health that I'm going to link below. And it is also the premise of Pregnancy Brain, which I really, really encourage you to check out when you are trying to decide when you're ready to get pregnant again after a preterm delivery. There are many different sources of triggers that activate this arousal system. Insomnia, dehydration, inflammation, chronic pain, many of which are also symptoms of an activated arousal system. But there are two that I see most commonly with my clients, and maybe you can resonate with them too. It is unresolved grief and unresolved trauma. And that's the work that we do together in my Path to Baby program, which I will also link below if you want to learn more. What I want you to hear is that in deactivating the stress response, in deactivating this arousal system, what does not help is mantras, affirmations, positive thinking, optimism, anything like that. Even talk therapy is not helpful. And I say this as a former therapist because of the changes that happen when your arousal system is on. There are aspects of your brain that are not available for introspection. So questions like, how did that make you feel? How are you feeling right now? What does your gut say about what to do next? All of those questions are extremely hard, if not impossible, to answer truthfully because it takes so much energy to really access those parts of your brain. There's a whole thing about this that I can get into that I might do an entirely separate episode about because this could get very long. But what I want you to really hear is it's not you. It's not your thoughts. It is not you being too negative. This is not your fault. And that if you want to do everything you can to improve pregnancy outcomes going forward, then you look at that 100-piece puzzle. This is a humongous chunk of it. You have to make sure that your body is in the repair stage more often than in the activated stage, the arousal state. Now, how do you do that? Well, I specifically teach that by approaching it from a somatic perspective. I teach nervous system regulation before and during a high-risk pregnancy. So you're welcome to reach out to me. I have all the resources linked below. If you're more into therapy and you really want to stick with traditional psychotherapy, search for a psychotherapist who is trauma trained. Ask them where they got their training. It needs to be something beyond what they learned in school, because that's not enough. You have to get extra training for this. Trauma-informed yoga is also tremendously powerful in deactivating the stress response. Tremendously powerful. Whatever it is that you want to look for, search for it. Ask around for what's comfortable for you, as long as they are familiar with the stress physiology and how it pertains to fertility and pregnancy health. And again, you're more than welcome to work with me if that resonates with you. This is my specialty. This is what I do. And I find it to be massively powerful. Massively powerful. So powerful, in fact, that you see the impact of it immediately because we're getting to the root cause. I frequently share the story of a client who reached out to me. She was on hospital bed rest, so constantly being monitored. She was on the monitors that are tracking her preterm contractions, and her nurse noticed that every time she was having her call with her therapist, her contractions picked up consistently. And it was so obvious that she actually advised her patient to discontinue therapy for a while because it was making her contractions worse. And I can't remember how she found me, but she reached out to me, this woman, because she knew that I specialized in this exact type of work, and it was not psychotherapy. And we did one call together. One call, and it's a video call, so I could see the nurse in the background, and I could see her watching the monitor like a hawk. I know they can see it at the nurse's station, but she must have seen something before that made her want to be right there. And the work that we did together to deactivate her stress response. And we do this by understanding how her body is presenting, right? Preterm contractions was one of them. One of her signs that her arousal system is on too high, too long. Yes, there are many reasons for preterm contractions, but this is one of them. There were others. And as we started working on decreasing the tension in her body, I will never forget the look on her nurse's face. Her eyes were bugging out of her head because she was watching the contraction monitor and the contractions were decreasing until they completely went away for several minutes. Something she had not seen for this patient since she was admitted to the hospital. That is how you know the work is working. Whether you work with me or not, that is how you should know. You should see blood pressure readings come down. You should see sugar level, glucose level readings stabilize. You should see preterm contractions come down. It is not a cure, but it is one more thing we can do, just like progesterone shots, just like a cerclage. None of these things have a 100% guarantee rate or a cure rate, not one of them. But if we have enough of them together, imagine what that could mean for your future pregnancy. If you can get one more day, one more week, one more month even, what would that mean to you? For my son, it was 15 days. And that meant the chance of life. That meant everything. That's why I do this work. And that's why I'm spending so much time on this. That is entirely what my entire practice is about. Why I wrote Pregnancy Brain, why this podcast exists, why I talk about this so much, even though it is an unpopular opinion, despite being backed by research. This has to be part of the puzzle because it works. And what we find is that when you follow physiology, instead of focusing on our thoughts and trying to be more positive, which are all very great tools to have eventually, not when you're trying to deactivate the arousal system, but when you follow physiology and you do the work in a way that is in line with understanding how our bodies function, you see results quickly, which is tied to, and research has showed this, prolonged gestation. Even for women who are in preterm labor, you stay pregnant a little bit longer. I'm an N of 1 to prove this in my experience, but I know that's not enough. So there is research that shows this, that you can extend pregnancy by a day or a couple days or even a week, sometimes longer, because you're following physiology. You are not trying to put band-aids on top of something to cope. You are actually making changes to your body to help you sustain the pregnancy. And what we find is when in doing that, no matter when you do deliver, whether it is preterm again or not, you are at much less risk of experiencing birth trauma. There's much less need for medical interventions unless there's something going on with baby, right? It can happen, but the risk is lower and delivery outcomes improve. And all of this, we didn't even talk about how it impacts the fetus during pregnancy. Improved blood flow, better weight gain, general improved development, and better outcomes, even if babies are born preterm. Now, it's not a cure, right? I want to be super clear about that. I think we tend to associate better pregnancy outcomes with the best possible outcome, and that's not what we're talking about. Yes, we want to go for the best possible outcome of a 40-week delivery, of a full-term, healthy, perfectly healthy baby that you take home right away. Everybody wants that, right? Not all of us can have exactly that. And that's okay. What we are trying to do is stack the deck in your favor. Not one medical intervention that your doctor will give you or will recommend to you is 100% guarantee of that perfect outcome that we want. Not one. But it stacks the deck in your favor, right? A cerclage will stack the deck in your favor. P17 shots will stack the deck in your favor. Baby aspirin will stack the deck in your favor. And this is one more thing. If you want to do everything possible to stack the deck in your favor for the next pregnancy, you're looking at the 100-piece puzzle. This is a big chunk of that puzzle. It's not a nice to have. It is an essential, just like the medical interventions that you will say yes to. Okay? So much to say about this, as you know. I feel extremely passionate about this because it works. It works. And I want that for you too, because I know how terrifying it is to begin considering pregnancy after prematurity. I know how terrifying that is. You have seen some of the hardest things a parent should never even see. You've had to make such difficult decisions that no parent should ever have to make. You met your child too soon. And I know you don't want that again. And you want to do everything possible to make that a reality as best as you possibly can. This is step 3. Backed by science, backed by research, clinically proven. So step 1, talk to your partner first. Just make sure you're on the same page. Make sure you have the same vision, the same desires. Make sure you're both ready in all ways to do this. Step 2, schedule your preconception appointment. Get the plan and keep searching. As team captain, Keep searching for the right players on your team as you're getting ready to do this. Step 3 is to deactivate your arousal system. Release that unresolved grief. Release that unresolved trauma. Work on that chronic inflammation, the chronic pain, the insomnia, the dehydration, the autoimmune diseases. All of these things are all extremely tied together. Get yourself to a place where your body is ready and prepared to do what it's trying to do, which is to carry a pregnancy as long as possible. Stack the deck in your favor. That's what this is. And finally, step 4, figure out when the time is right. Sometimes the timing is not up to you. For my clients who have fertility treatment and require fertility treatment to get pregnant, sometimes the timing is not up to you because of insurance coverage or certain health conditions that you have to improve or certain blood work that needs to stabilize in order to be cleared to try again, right? So figure out the timing that's right for you. For some other women, and for maybe some of you, it might be timing has to be based on finances, your partner's travel, so many other factors that might be playing in deciding when the timing is right. Whatever the situation is, do not force yourself to do this before you're ready. And do not allow a physician or a medical provider of any kind to push you to do something when you are not ready. Get your life ready, your family, your finances, your marriage, your body, your health. Get it in a place where you feel comfortable. It's not going to be perfect. We are not going for perfection. We are not going for optimization here. We are not going for this is the absolute best. We're going for good enough. And yes, good enough is enough. So what can you make better right now? What are those things, those 1 or 2 things, maybe there are more, that you just go, yeah, but I really need to make a call to my endocrinologist. I really do need to deal with my joint pain. I really do just want more sleep. I really do want that one more vacation. I really want to get that promotion at work. What is that thing? And it's not just you, right? It's also your partner. It's also your child. I had a client, for those of you who have very tiny preemies, flu season, RSV season, is a really challenging time. For us, we are years out of the NICU, and it is still a very challenging time because the earlier the baby is born, they are at risk for lung disease, chronic lung disease, also known as bronchopulmonary dysplasia. It's more than asthma. A lot of kids with CLD also have asthma, but it's more than asthma. It is scar tissue in the lungs because of early exposure to oxygen and respiratory treatments. So flu season's really hard. So for this particular client I'm thinking of, timing for her was also, she thankfully did not have fertility issues, but timing for her was also around, I don't want to bring a child home in the middle of flu season because I know my older child needs a lot of care during RSV and flu season, which for most of the country goes somewhere around October to April. It's a long time. It's a lot of months in the year that are very, very hard for many families. But she knew that, and she knew her partner knew that, and they kind of all just knew we cannot have a newborn at home between these months. So that's how they were able to time it. That had to factor into their plan because that was important to them. So maybe something like that is there for you too. Nobody knows. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. You know when the time is going to be right. And I'll tell you this, you will know it not based on the calendar, right? This particular client knew on the calendar between these months is ideally when they don't want to bring a newborn into the world. But there's also this global sense of, is the timing right? And I will tell you that most of my clients, when that timing is right, will feel, they'll describe it as a warmth, like in their chest or in their body, in their hands. They're just a general warmth. Some other clients kind of describe it as a total relaxation or just an aha moment of, oh yeah, I'm ready. It's just like a gut feeling. Your body will tell you when the timing is right. And if you have the luxury of deciding that on your own, trust it. And even if you don't have complete control of timing, I'm thinking of a client I had who many of my clients, I would say probably 90% of my clients also require fertility treatment. So most of them don't have complete control over their calendars and the timelines. But this particular client that I'm thinking of reached out with this calendar in mind and said, okay, we have to do this. The insurance is approving this I can't remember exactly what month it was. I'll just say March, right? They're approving it in March. It's got to happen. And as we began our work together, she realized, oh boy, there's a lot of unresolved grief, a lot of unresolved trauma that's showing up in everyday aches and pains that's exacerbating her autoimmune disease, which developed after a NICU stay for her baby, which happens a lot, by the way, for NICU parents. Autoimmune disease is very, very high. We'll talk about that probably on another podcast. And so she was actually able to negotiate the timeline with her clinic and with the insurance company when she realized, I want to do this and I want to do this the right way. And for her, the right way meant being in a place when she felt like her body was ready. And the more she learned about her body, which is so much of the work that we do, it's very somatic. My focus is very somatic, very body-centered. She realized her body's not ready. She is so tight. She's in so much pain. There's tremendous inflammation. And she has much grief and trauma to release. And as she released it, her body responded. Her pain went away. The inflammation disappeared. Her autoimmune disease actually improved. The symptoms improved significantly in a way that they never had before. And then she had that feeling, that warmth. And she said, yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to do this. And it works. It works because it helps you get pregnant, helps you stay pregnant. The work works when you follow your body, when you trust your body, when you're ready, when you are supported by the right people, your partner, your family, your friends, if you need them. You have a really supportive, strong medical team on your side, guiding you with a plan that feels really good to you. Even though it's scary, even though you don't know what's going to happen, you may still deliver preterm, but your body is no longer constantly in a state of fight or flight. And that can make all the difference, from extending your next pregnancy by a day to a week to a month to maybe even making it full term. And that's how and why I'm sharing these 4 steps with you today. It's powerful stuff. It's really powerful stuff. So quick recap, talk to your partner. Step 1, that's where you start before you talk to anybody else. Talk to your partner. Are they ready? Are you ready? What do you both need? What do you want? Are you both, either one of you, stuck in the past? Are either one of you scared? What are you scared about? What's going on? And can they be there for you the way that you need for a healthy pregnancy? Then step 2, put on your team captain hat and start building your team. Go get a preconception appointment, create that plan, keep searching for the right team members until you find a plan that feels good to you. Then step 3, deactivate your arousal system. Get your body to feel safe again. Release that unresolved grief, that unresolved trauma. Regulate your nervous system because it will have a cascading effect into your hormonal system and your immune system, all 3 of which you need to be in a really nice balance to help you get pregnant and stay pregnant. And then step 4, trust your body to know when the time is right. Figure out what you need and then trust your body when you know the time is right. It will not lie. As long as you can listen to those signs and you can trust them, you cannot go wrong. The last thing I'll say is this. The human body is so fascinating. The human spirit is tremendous. And the 2 together are so resilient and so strong and so powerful. You are not the victim of your circumstance, and you're also not destined to experience any one particular thing. Like I said earlier in this episode, statistics are just likelihoods. Diagnoses are just words to describe a set of symptoms, but you have more power than you realize to impact the course of your next pregnancy. Don't let anyone make you forget that. That doesn't mean there's a guarantee you're going to deliver at term and have a healthy baby to bring home. But that does mean you have tremendous power in helping your body stack the deck in your favor. Your body is not against you. It is trying to help you carry a pregnancy as close to term as you can, and you have the power to help it do that. And if you do deliver preterm again, that doesn't mean your body failed you. It means it did the best that it could. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This was a big one. I have so much to say about this, and I'm so excited that you're here to listen and to hear me out and to be open to all the things that are possible for you. I know the heartbreak of having a preemie. I also know the strength that comes from that. And I also know the fear of that happening again. It's a big decision when you're getting ready to try and conceive after having a preterm delivery already, or multiple preterm deliveries. Take your time with it. Do your homework. Prepare your body. Prepare your family. And at the end of the day, however it turns out, then you will experience that outcome without regret and without doubt. Isn't that really the best that we can hope for? And in doing that, I know you will experience tremendous repair with the trust that you've lost from your body because of what you've been through before. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And I would love to stay in touch. So feel free to follow me on Instagram at healthy.highriskpregnancy. And definitely check out all the resources that I have available for you in the links in the show notes below. There's a bunch available here. As you know, this is something I am extremely passionate about helping women with. So check them out. See what resonates with you. And if you'd like the personalized support, I'm here for you. Absolutely here for you. And I would love it if you could support Delivering Miracles by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or telling a friend about the podcast so they know that this is available as a resource for them on their journey to bringing their baby home. I really do believe there is tremendous power in your body. And I really do believe that anything is possible. And I also know that you're not naive. You're not going to just blindly believe something because you've been through a lot. And what you need is to experience shifts and changes and to really, truly experience hope by creating a world where you are massively supported by your partner, by your friends and family, by your medical team. You can learn to trust your body again, and you can stack the deck in your favor, whatever that means for your future pregnancy. I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to hear how this goes for you. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.